Hello, podcast lovers. Thank you so much for coming back. I'm your host, Žana. And today, my guest, I'm so excited for this conversation because my guest reached out actually to me, wanting to have a conversation with me about the topic that we're speaking on today. And the topic is going to be self-discovery and how we are really understanding who we are meant to be in the first place. And Alex is my guest today. I'm so excited for you to be here. Thank you so very much for not only coming and being my guest, but also agreeing to share a really personal part of your journey with me, and explaining to me and just opening up your heart to me. So I'm so thankful that you're here. Hi,
Oh,
how are you?
hey, hey, good to see you, Žana, and thank you for inviting me to your show and sharing my story for your audience, and hopefully it makes a difference for somebody out there. So excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, exactly. Because, speaking of making a difference, that's exactly what sometimes we hope to do for somebody else. But really, at first, it's really up on us to make actually a difference in our own life about certain things and certain aspects, which
Yeah,
really is a great segue to, if it's okay with you, I would love to jump right in. And,
yeah.
in our private conversation, when we had a conversation, you shared with me that, really early on in your teen years, you were kind of like, doing some things that really didn't serve your soul and your temple. And I would love for you to kind of like take the floor and just, kind of like express what you kind of like went through, because I think it's a good way of really jumping into the self-discovery aspect of oneself.
Yeah, for sure. High school, I think for anyone watching, it's an interesting time, right? You're finding yourself, you're trying to find out which group you're in, where do you fit in, who are the people that you want to spend time with. And going into ninth grade, 10th grade, I was an athlete. I played football. Football was my life. I loved it. And I wrote about this in the book in the Journey of Riches. Like I decided to retire because not because I had any injuries, not because I was hurt, but I fell out of love because I found addictions. I found drugs as my way to cope with who I thought I was and all the uh, deficiencies, inadequacies, all the ways to cover up all my insecurities that I thought I had. And then, there's just a longer story with that as a kid, just not feeling seen, not feeling heard. And I thought, wow, this is a great way for me to numb that, to mask that, right? And I rate that it led me to be kind of consumed in this costume, right? This identity of like an athlete, football player, dude. And now I'm like, all right, I want to be a druggie. I'm gonna steal. I want to take. I want to rob. I want to um, do whatever I can to to just really destroy myself, honestly. And I was going through a lot of
Mhm.
challenges at the time where I wasn't
Mhm.
expressing myself to people, right? I'm the youngest of four in my household, so I got two older brothers and older sister. I didn't talk to anybody as far as anything deep or what was bothering me, what was upsetting me. I didn't talk to guidance counselors. I didn't talk to teachers. I didn't talk to my best friends. It was just all me inside of my head. Sometimes, like one outlet I did have was raps and poetry, so I'd write a lot. That was like the only time I really felt I could express myself and get the real things off my mind onto paper
Mhm.
just somewhere. But for the most part, it was the mask of cigarettes and drugs and thinking that, oh, this is the way that people will accept me. This is the way that I can fit in. This is the way that people will like me. And I don't even
Mhm.
like myself at that time, right? So that was for a number of years through high school into college and through early parts of young adulthood until I started to turn my life around and see a different path for myself. So that's a little bit of that story.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so interesting, when you talked about like when you talked, I really immediately felt like wanting to 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 gravitate to the word of self-sabotage. And I'm just
Mm,
so curious of wanting to know, where do you think for you personally did that come from? That, I know you mentioned at the beginning that you felt as a child you were not heard, you were not seen, you were not valued, probably your opinions were not respected, or even nobody probably asked you even your opinion about certain things of how you maybe felt about certain ways. And I get the
Yeah.
whole part of like, we are the grown-ups, we're the parent, we know what's best for you. You don't really have to have an opinion, but
Yeah.
it does matter, and so where do you think that part, that self-sabotage, would you think that that stemmed really from that upbringing part, that chunk of your part of your life where you then felt like only through masking, only through, keeping up this facade of
Yeah.
something, because I mean, being a football player and being a good athlete, that's something that anybody strives wanting to be. So there wouldn't even be necessary to have a mask because you were doing it.
Right.
But I think it's more the emotional part, it's more the mental part of, okay, nobody at the beginning respected my opinion. Nobody wanted to hear what I really had to say. So therefore, I'm sabotaging myself into something that then hopefully with this part that I'm now masking, that I'm now taking as a new character, maybe then I will be heard, maybe then I will be seen. Is that something that is fair to say? Would you say it kind of like really stemmed mainly from there? Or when you now look at it, what do you think was really the root of the self-sabotaging part, and you just really driving yourself into something where actually now looking back, you never had to do that, because clearly you're a very intelligent human being. You're very smart, you're very kind, but when we don't see that about us, and then we're not getting validated from the people that matter to us, then it can turn very quick.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's fair to say. Yeah, the self-sabotage, I would say, if you think about this expression, right? A picture is worth 1,000 words. And for me, I look at it as, well, what if you repeat one single word 1,000 times, right? How do you let that sink into your body and anchor into you? And for me, the incident or the experience I had as a kid really came about when I was around 5, 6 years old. This is first grade. I grew up in New York and Long Island, Brentwood to be specific. So shout out to Brentwood, anybody out there. Um, and I just remember being a kid this one afternoon, just one day, just a regular day, just playing, doing my thing, having fun, right? Just exploring, doing whatever kids do at the time. And I remember walking into my family's sitting room, and there was a picture there, a family portrait, right? A family picture. And I've walked by this like hundreds of times, right? But for whatever reason, this day, this moment, I paid attention. I stared at it. I looked at it, and I see my father, my mother, rest her soul, my older sister, my older brothers. And for anybody who's listening and is watching this, I told you I'm a youngest of four. So I see three kids, and I don't see myself. Literally, I don't see myself in the picture. I'm kind of looking around, like, am I in here? Like, I'm thinking maybe my brother's big head is blocking my mom's belly. Maybe I'm in there. And the sabotage is really this distinction that I call mixing up truth and facts. So the truth is, yeah, I wasn't in that picture. That's what it was. The fact of the matter is I just wasn't born yet. You know what I mean? I wasn't born. It wasn't like, hey, we're gonna take a family photo, put Alex to the side. Let's not have him here. I just wasn't a thought. I wasn't an actual creation yet. But for me, I made that moment. I made that story to believe that I'm invisible. I'm not here. I don't exist. I'm not a part of this family. And for someone watching and listening, you could think, well, Alex, wouldn't it just been easier to ask your parents to take another family photo? Like they would have gladly done that. But I think in my heart, I kind of held that resentment of, well, shouldn't they have known? Shouldn't they have seen it? Like, how come nobody else is not paying attention? Nobody else is seeing this, right? And
Mhm.
I look at it
Mhm.
as becoming like a detective. I start sniffing for clues to back up my premise of not being here, not existing. And I would find it everywhere. I find it at the home because my parents immigrated from Haiti, so Haitian, Creole, French is our native tongue. But guess Žana, who's the only person who didn't speak it or didn't learn it, right? I didn't pick it up. All right.
Right.
So if you're going around family functions, cousins, uncles, aunties, grandmas, it was kind of like, oh my goodness, this poor thing. Like you don't speak, like they're talking to me. I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I really can't communicate with you. I can't express myself or how I feel. And that
Yeah.
causes a wall because all I want to do is just like not be seen here. I don't want anybody to ask me any questions. I don't want anybody to talk to me, and I started shutting down to myself. So that's that one piece. In in school, my parents had me and my brothers, my siblings go to traditionally like Catholic private schools. So that's mainly, white kids in the school. I'm like one of the few faces of color in the room. That's awkward as you're going through puberty, through adolescence and high school and in middle school, and you're out of place with your peers
Yeah.
because there's just a cultural divide there. Just things that they're not going to get and they're not going to understand. Right. And it's not a knock on people. It's just what it is, right? I grew up in the 90s, right? Things were just different back then. So I got that piece. And then my community, right? I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood, blacks, Hispanic people, right? Really lovely people. But a lot of my friends, they were going to the local public school. Here I am in my blazer, my little tie, I'm a little preppy, and like I don't fit into like the street culture there. So I wrote about it in the book, and it's like I joke, but like this is the feeling about it. I was like I wasn't black enough for the brothers, and I was a little too crazy for the crackers, right? And I use that like not to offend anybody, but that's just the mentality I had. So
Yeah.
all these pieces, right? All these little clues that I'm picking up and I'm experiencing, I'm seeing for myself. I really don't fit anywhere. I don't belong. I'm an outsider. And
Mm.
when you have that as your foundation and you search for these clues and you're finding them, it creates a way of being where, okay, who do I need to be to get accepted? All right, that might be me being the class clown, loud, obnoxious, disturbing the class, right? Everybody's having fun. Ha ha, Alex, he's so funny. But yet I'm the one who's struggling in school. I'm the one going to summer school like almost every year because I just can't figure things out. I'm not asking for help. I'm not speaking up for myself. And it
Yeah.
carries into what we talked about earlier, high school. All right. You know what? Since nobody wants to hear me, I'm just gonna lash out and rage in my own way, but I'm not gonna do it outwards. I'm gonna consume and destroy within. And
Mm.
it took a lot out of me, but
Mm.
it's the path that was laid out for me. And at the time I didn't want these things to happen. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be a part and included in things, but it created who you see today.
Yeah. You were too deep in it already mentally too,
Yeah.
through that spark, through that. And it's so interesting that just because of that one family photo
Yeah.
that wasn't even anything, like you said, realistic, because you were simply not here. You were still,
Mm.
you were a non-creation at the moment,
Right.
and simply because of that, so many things spiraled into the arms of addiction, into the arms
Mm.
of, like, yeah, you don't fit in, look at you, this and that,
Mm.
and like that self-disturbance, that self-destroying, that inner
Mm.
self, because that was reality. I mean,
Yeah.
it was reality. Everything, when I hear you speak to me, it really does sound like that those are valid points of feeling at one point this way, because it was the truth. It wasn't anything, parts of
Mm.
it were not that you're making it up. I don't even
Yeah.
think anything was made up. It was just that you didn't understand how it all tied actually together. So it wouldn't
Mm.
be a big of a deal. But
Mm.
by having that start and moving on, it all contributed to this part of, who am I really? Like, where do I fit in? I don't fit in
Mm.
here and I don't fit in there. And I so resonated with so many things because my parents, they migrated from Serbia and Hungary separately to Germany
Mm.
before they created me. And I was that child, in Germany. I didn't look German. I didn't have a German name. I didn't, my parents didn't speak any proper German. They spoke
Mm.
very broken German. And, when they first migrated, and I was the kid in school that, everybody made fun of my name. Everybody couldn't pronounce my name the correct way. And I was like, oh my God. And then I created my name fitting to their standards so they could actually
Mm.
speak out my name. But it really wasn't how my mom meant it to be spoken out. That was my first gift of life. And for a long time, I so disregarded that part of me just because
Yeah.
my name was so different. And today I feel like that's my biggest blessing, that besides my son, that I've ever gotten in life because it's such a unique, beautiful name. But back then I couldn't see it, so it
Yeah.
so resonated with me. And then when we would go for holidays to Hungary and to Serbia, I spoke those languages, but I didn't speak them at the time the way I'm speaking native German, because in Germany I grew up. So I
Right.
could understand everything people were saying to me, but sometimes I had a hard time expressing myself fluently in those languages because I juggled three languages at the time.
Oh
And it
my
took me
goodness.
some time to put them all in the brackets. So I know when you say you didn't feel that this is my tribe, my vibe, because it's
Mm,
like, where do I fit in? I don't, I am a part of that, but I'm not. They make fun of me. Oh, here comes the German girl, back
mm,
home in my parents' native country. Here comes the German girl. But in Germany, I was the foreigner. You know
right.
what I mean? And and
Yeah.
and so I completely resonate with you that really it set on me, because back in the days I was super shy. I was not the personality that I am today. Like I was very withdrawn. If kids did not approach me, I would constantly play by myself. I
Yeah.
would I would never in a million years think to just go up to a group of kids and be like, "Hi, do you guys want to play?"
Mm.
Like it would. I wouldn't have that courage. I wouldn't have that ability to just really be a child and really do childlike things in that manner, because I was so, well, who am I really? I hear it here, I hear it there, I don't know. So I completely get it, but I'm so, I'm so glad that you found a good way out of you, because when we talk about the self-discovery part that you were able to contribute to the book, A Journey of Riches, I would like to like hone on more on that, because I feel like that speaks so much value of really who we are and how important really it is to do speak up for ourselves. But sometimes it's so difficult to do that because we have all these ties. And when we feel like this is kind of like a safety net area, and now if I were to speak up, if I really now speak up and stand up for myself, it maybe causes some ripple effect. It maybe causes some damage. It maybe causes some arguments or some conflict. And I'm not ready to face that, because just a day ago, I wasn't even ready to face who I really am. Now I need to face everybody else. Like how, like, no, I'm like, I can't, it's a lot. But like that chapter in your book, is that kind of like, would you say that was kind of like your end product of healing, where you then wrote that chapter and it finally made it into a book? When you now look back, would you say that going through all of that, becoming and writing that chapter, was really like the end of your journey of really just accepting yourself and just being, okay, that part was awful, but I'm so glad and I'm grateful actually that it happened to me, because now I'm acceptant of it? Or what would you say?
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. I had the opportunity I was approached about writing the book or writing a chapter last year in 2024. And at first I was kind of like, but I also had these visions, these ideas of like, I want to write something. I've been kind of chomping at the bit. I'm named after the author, so my full name, Alexandre Dumas, like that, it's in my blood, right? It's like literally destined I was destined to be an author at some point. And I said to the publisher, I think I'm with it. Like it's gonna be a nice entry point. He gave me parameters like 3,000 to 5,000 words to tell this story. And John, in the process of it, it was challenging because I'm opening up these old wounds again, right? I thought they were scars, but I gotta dig in, excavate, and really communicate it to people that I don't know, and recognizing that people that I do know are gonna read this, right? I have a 14-year-old daughter at the time we're recording this, and she read part of the chapter. She's like, "Dad, are you okay?" Like, whoa. She kind of
Yeah,
looked at me like, "Oh my God, like I didn't know
yeah,
you like were like
yeah.
this." I'm like, "Hey, listen, I wanted to tell my story, my narrative in a way that experience it, because other people can see things and have their own opinion." And that was purpose
Mm.
is like, I had a really great life. I had a great middle, like just your regular, ordinary middle, uh, suburbia, middle class childhood, right? Sports, I had great time with my. It was this thing. It was that underlying like seed, that little poisonous seed inside of me that sprouted and created a lot of mess. And to answer your question, I don't know if it's I think it's just another piece on the path to acceptance because those thoughts, those feelings, they still creep up, right? It's like little Alex is still inside of here. And
Sure.
when something triggers that, like at least I now have tools to recognize, like, oh, here we go again. What am I seeing? Why am I allowing this scenario or this comment or this particular person to bring out like that rage in me, that
Yeah.
fire? Like, what is that? And I get to explore that and ask myself questions about that. Before, I didn't have very powerful questions. My questions would sound like this, Jana. It would sound like, why is life like this? Why can't I have
Mhm.
what I want? Why don't these people accept me? Why doesn't she like me? What, right? Just like all these things, they're not bad questions, but there's no there's no path for me outside of that, right? It's like me boxing myself in a wall, like, well, this is just the way it is. It's just life just sucks. This is default. And through coaching, through writing this book and recognizing all the people in my life, from my wife to different mentors, to different communities I'm a part of, helping me see these other types of questions of what do I want to create from this? What's available to me? Who can help me? That
Right.
actually gives me a path out. That gives me a way to see, all right, I don't have to do this on my own. There's actually someone out there who may have more knowledge or can pour some encouragement into me or can just help me see things in a different way. And I think that's what I really wanted to communicate through this book of, yes, this is my life story so far up to this point in 5,000 or so words, but also sprinkling these lessons of when you speak up for yourself, right? When you really practice self-advocacy and you embrace that, you embrace your uniqueness, you embrace the differences. It doesn't make you a
Right.
freak, doesn't make you a weirdo, right? I would hear these things all the time, like, "Hey, you're so weird," and like I'd be like, "Oh no." But similar to like you were saying, right? I'm a foreigner here, I'm accepted here, but not accepted there. Like that's my superpower
Right.
now. Like I love that because I
Right.
can go anywhere. I don't have to be tied down to just being this one thing. Like I'm Alex. That's it. There's no, well, he's
Right.
exactly like this. Like, no, I'm not because we're multi-layered, we're multi-dimensional. I don't think
Hmm.
any person is just one thing, right? If but yeah,
Yeah.
just core values that I hold true to myself. Like, yeah, I'm somebody who loves to serve people. I love to laugh. I love to joke with people. I love to entertain. I love to have fun. When I was younger, I thought that's all there was. So even on my bad days, even on days I was down, right, I would smile even when I wanted to frown, right? I just have to put on the face like everything's great, everything's
Yeah. Right.
fine, and just put on the
Right.
show. It was never, I never turned it off, never turned it off,
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
on, always intense with that, and that eats away. That it's hard to keep up that kind of facade, right? When you can be yourself, when you can be authentic, when you can share who you are genuinely, and people accept that, right? I've two kids, my wife, people in my life that love me and accept me for who I am, and
Hmm.
good flaws and all, right? Especially with the flaws,
Right.
they
Right.
forgive. And I think that was part of this book writing process of just recognizing, okay, dude, you've had a lot of moments, a lot of days where you felt like a screw up, where you didn't see a way out, but you found a way. So for someone reading this, like, where are they at? What in your words, what in your story can they see their story in? And that's what I did my best to convey on the pages.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for you that you do that because this is exactly what life really is about, you know. And I want to tag on to a few points that you said. Self-awareness really popped into my mind when you were speaking, just really having that power of really being self-aware of the things that are really happening internally because now we take the time, because we now appreciate and respect solitude within our own self, solitude with our own time, and not having the pressure like you said, putting on that mask and everything is great. It's so exhausting to do that. It is so exhausting. Literally eats out and eats away your life force energy. It just robs it. It steals it.
Yeah.
And to that point, I also would like to share that when we do that, when we put on a facade about us and because listen, deep down, we all know what is truth. Okay.
Yeah.
We might not execute it, we might not act on it, we might not speak on it, but in here, every human knows what is right and what is wrong, what they're doing, what they're not doing, right?
Yeah.
But when we are doing and when we're acting as somebody else, what happens actually is we actually attract the energies that are matching this facade that we're pursuing. And now
Yeah.
we're drawing in these situations and these people and these circumstances in our life that we really actually don't want. But because we are not being authentic, we're putting on a mask, we're attracting that, we're not allowing anyone to see really the true colors of us. Therefore, we're attracting the wrong colors to our drawing board. And now you look at our canvas, and instead of it being all bright and using multiple colors, all you have is two tones, which is dark and darker. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so because it doesn't fit your soul, it doesn't fit your energy, it doesn't fit who you're really meant to be. And the self-discovery and like just self-awareness is so big. Like, especially like you said, that you're so grateful that people in your circle are accepting also the flaws, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. But I think it really does start with ourselves to tell ourselves, like, you know what? I am still okay. I
Mhm.
still, I'm still loving and I still deserve to be loved, even though I'm not perfect, because nobody's perfect, but we all are unique masterpieces of the creation, of creator of it all. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
we if once we learn to really just be self acceptance to ourselves and really sit in that self respect of like, you know what, I know this is something I haven't mastered it yet. I want to, and I will mess up not on purpose, but because I'm still learning. But there's so many other parts that I already have mastered, and so rarely do we just stand a moment in solitude and just be so grateful for the things that we really overcome already. We always look at what is still to do and what we still have to accomplish, but how about when we take a moment to just, you know what already had happened, and just be like, you know what, for that, I'm gonna take myself for a nice frozen yogurt today, or I'm gonna take myself for a nice cup of whatever favorite drink you have, or I'm gonna treat myself to a nice lunch, or I'm gonna go and have a pedicure or a massage or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
just to self-love yourself, and to really be proud of yourself. And that's really not being taught so often, because we're always being told, not always, but a lot of times we're being told, don't brag, don't do this, don't do
Yeah.
that, don't think of yourself, don't be selfish, don't this and that. And I get it, and I, with respect, I am agreeing to a certain degree to all of it, but because of that, we're not being taught to be like, no, if you believe in you, you can talk about that. You can stand strong in that belief within you. You're not being braggy, you're not being anything. And if you think you cannot share your energy, your time, your space, your heart, your whatever, then you are allowed to say, I'm so sorry, this is something I'm not able to give,
Mhm.
because I'm not a bad person for reserving my own energy for myself, reserving my own time for myself. Am I helpful? Yes. But if it's in this moment, if my temple is telling me I should rather take a 15-minute nap or a half-hour nap, or just relax and have my lunch in peace, but a friend of mine maybe needs help in moving, then I'm sorry, in this moment, I'm not able to, because right now I'm prioritizing myself. Now, when I have my lunch and I recharge my batteries, I'm happy to come a little later.
Mhm.
Like life is all about compromise, but it is about you prioritizing and really valuing and respecting yourself. So I'm so grateful that you mastered that for yourself, because this is really truly how we can really live life to the fullest. So I'm glad that you found that peace for you, even though the parts that you expressed seem very challenging, as a young child, and going through that. When you said that you were completely alone in it must have been really, really lonely and really sad at times too for you. So I'm happy that you got filled with all these amazing things now that kind of like not necessarily make up, because I do truly believe it was part of your story to become who you are today.
Yeah. Yeah. It was all, nothing's wasted, right? All
Right.
these pieces, right, of you know, I do value solitude. I think where I was younger, I had mistaken it as isolation, right? I just keeping to myself in certain parts. I remember this one time, I forget where I was like in elementary school, but I got a report card. You know, you get like the progress reports and this and that. And this is just like one of these little like flyaway comments, but like it always stuck with me because it's like, oh, right. The teacher wrote in there was like, oh, Alex is really good in class, right? And you know, but he talks a lot. Well, and nothing bad. And my parents were like, oh, you talk? Like they were just kind of like joking around, like messing around, but like
Mhm.
it's these little things that are throwaways that sometimes that stick to people.
Right.
And for me, that stuck. It's like, oh no. Like I felt bad, like, oh, I don't really share much at home. I don't really yeah, I'm not really open or warm. I mean, but my siblings, yeah, we joke around, but like the closest one in age to me was 6 years apart, and then 7 years, then 10 years. So
Right.
every phase, I was always just kind of on the outside, right? This is more of the evidence where I'm creating, where I'm going into to middle school, they're in high school. I'm going to high school, they're in college. I'm getting to college, they're having their own lives. So I'm always just
Yeah.
kind of missing them, just kind of on the outside. Um, but no, to your point, what started to help me transform and look at things is what I kind of call like I teach this now from the stage and end of your era is what I call like how to win, right? WIN, like as far as like a three-part framework, if you want to call it that. And like the W piece is just looking at your worth, right? That's like the core of it because
Yeah.
I need to be tapped in with my identity. I need to be tapped in with my unique gifts, talents, and abilities, be okay with me and really declare, not even just some, even beyond an affirmation, because affirmations I think can get. I used to do a lot of affirmations too, but like I never could feel them. It's like I'm so happy and grateful I have this and I have that. I'm like I don't have that. Right? Like it's not physically showing up in the bank account, it's not physically showing up in body, whatever. So it would
Hmm.
feel like empty words, feel hollow. And so when I started looking at, all right, what are the things I want to declare for myself? The things that other people have said about me, not that I need the outside validation, but like the clues there and then connect to like what I know is true about me. If someone's like, hey, you're kind, you're thoughtful, you're funny, whatever it is,
Right.
those kind of remarks back then, like I would have been like Matrix, like Neo, dodging those things because what are you talking
Right.
about? That's not, I can't see that in myself. So how are you seeing that? Like you're lying to me, right?
Right.
That's the approach I would have. Now, as
Hmm.
I've gotten older, a little bit wiser and more experienced, oh yeah, this is true. And I can look for evidence for that and also back that up. So for anyone watching this and or listening, I was just challenge you to think about, hey, who are you really? Who's that authentic person? Who's that person that you know to be true behind the scenes, right? Is the audio matching the video? Is the things that you're saying also showing up in the way that you're doing, the way that you're being, the way that you're actually approaching life? And that ties now into the I portion of that, the intentions. And when I say intentions, I really mean the commitment. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? What's the big picture? What's the big vision for what you're holding on to for a good portion of my life? Everything was so much about me and like, oh my God, me. Even though I liked
Yeah.
helping people, I was always a person that people would go to talk about things and kind of just dump their lives on me, like
Yeah.
unsolicited. I don't know
Right.
if you have those experiences, like you just out somewhere and someone just tells you the whole life story. Like all I did was ask you hi, right? I didn't ask for all this. I'm happy to receive it, but the intentions, right? What's the big picture? What's
Mhm.
the big vision for why you do what you do? And once I started to connect those things of like, hey, I'm somebody who's worthy of doing these things. I'm the person who can get that thing done. And this is actually going to benefit a lot of people. This is going to serve people. I talked about it in the book where an event I helped co-create that helped support several nonprofit organizations last year, raising over 100 grand for Operation Underground Railroad. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's an organization that helps combat human trafficking and sexual slavery, right? And for for the money that we raised, we were able to, I don't know, I don't have the statistics or the numbers of like how many missions that supported and how many people were potentially rescued, but just knowing that maybe even one person is taken out of that
Yeah,
situation of being a slave, like that's a big
yeah,
deal. And then
that's
the
huge.
last piece of what I have experienced or what I teach for is for people to win is the network. And you talked about it briefly about the people you're around. Who's the inner circle? Who are the people that are supporting you? Who are the people that are serving you? Who's nurturing you? Who's challenging you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or are people
Mm-hmm.
enabling you? Are people pacifying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay, John. You know what? You're screwing up your life. It's okay. No, it's not
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Right,
Like, we're
right.
meant for more. We're meant to do more. We're meant to be
Yeah,
more. And
yeah,
if I don't have people in my life that are seeing that for me, then I need to change my lens. I need to change where I'm at. In the drug years, all my friends were smoking, drinking, stealing, robbing. Guess what I was doing, right? Birds of a feather. We flock together.
right.
I'm in a space where people are generating good money. They're leaders, they're creators, they're people that are servers, they're people that are philanthropists. I like that
Mm-hmm.
more. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just thinking
Mm-hmm.
about what's more effective for my life to be in a
Mm-hmm.
space where my lens is looking at, all right, there's a pocketbook over there. I gotta go take
Right.
that. How much money is in that? How much can I buy with that? Versus, there's a person in a different part of the world who I might be able to impact with my words, my actions, and their lives.
Mm-hmm.
They can see a possibility for themselves, especially for young men of color. I think about my story, my message, like, man, what would I have needed to hear at that age? What
Right.
would have potentially gotten through to me? Maybe something I said has, but I just try
Mm-hmm.
to live my life and just be a service. I think that's the best thing I can do for myself and for other people.
Yeah, I think it also sometimes, when we find ourselves in situations that we really internally don't want to be in, but we're so deep in it already because now we are either addicted or we are
Mm.
codependent or we are finding ourselves in any situation where we simply cannot just break out of it just like that, even
Yeah,
though we want to. Like you said, all your friends back in the days, they did the same thing that you actually wanted to get away from, but you kind of tagged along because you were not around people that actually inspired you and did that. And I think sometimes it's really challenging for oneself to really think like, okay, I want that, but how do I get from here to there? Like everybody would want to have a successful life or a life of fulfillment that what makes them happy. But I think the question that a lot of people have is like, how do I get there from here to there? Like, how do I accomplish that if I don't have the financial means, if I don't know any philanthropists, if I don't know any entrepreneurs, if I don't know any role models? How do I do that? Do you get me? And for
yeah.
me, I answered that question by really doing the work that I needed to do for myself. Because once I really decided that I do not like specific characteristic that I had, what I didn't like, the fact that I was smoking cigarettes, I wanted to find so deeply the root of where it was coming from. And that drove me, so, like that drove my energy so tremendously because I simply did not want it to be identified anymore with the specific characteristic that I've heard when I was a child, that I've heard from friends, that I heard from my son's father, that I heard it from everywhere constantly, and I didn't like it, and I it drove me so deeply wanting to break free from that that I decided to do work on myself. And I think for me that was the beginning of really understanding who I really was, why I was the way I was, where it came from, because then examples all of a sudden pop back in my head. I started to connect the dots. I'm like, man, when I was a child, this was told to me. Is this where it really was coming from? And I wasn't on a blaming path. Oh, this person said that to me. That's why it made me. No, I really wanted to self-discover what did I take on that wasn't even mine to carry. What did I adapt to that wasn't even mine to be wanting to adapt it to? But I did it anyway because it was my environment. What can I do? It's my family, it's my mother, it's my father, I mean, I love these people, right? But
Yeah.
I don't want that part. But where does it come from? Did I take it? Was it given to me unwillingly, willingly, consciously, unconsciously? I don't know. So by me going on that real self-discovery of like literally sitting every single down with myself and really asking myself questions, having self-talk with myself, having affirmations, told myself, and they did feel like a lie. So I can completely agree with you when you said they felt like empty words. They felt like a lie to me too, but I did it
Yeah.
anyway. But I did it anyway. And at one point, not only did those words became my reality internally, but they manifested in my actual life. And that didn't
Mm.
happen from one day to the other. It took some time.
It
But the
wasn't just like
key for me
magic.
was, yeah. But the key for me was to stay consistently in that process of really wanting to self-discover who I am and why I am. And more importantly, what I was created to be. Like I have a mission here. But what is
Right.
that? I don't know. You know, and through all of those honing in with myself and journaling and meditating and finding, drawing was a big part for me, like painting, spending
Mm.
time, quality time with my son, spending quality time with myself, accepting the solitude versus not being lonely. You know what I mean? Just really
Yeah.
being in the self-acceptance of like, you know what? I don't like this part about me, but it's a part of me in this moment until it's going to be a part of my past. And I just accepted that without self-judgment, without this, oh my God, you did it again. You fall off again off the wagon. Here you are. You see, that's
Mm.
always what you do. Da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so once I really decided, like, okay, I did it again. Shoot, I don't want to, right? And then I did my own personal things. I mean, me personally, I went to prayer. Like I apologized. I went to the person I offended. I apologized to the person. I literally went back to whatever the person was, the lady at the post office, the lady at the grocery store, the cashier, whoever person it was, or a person on the phone. I would call back the company. I'm like, listen, I just had a call with this. Please tell this person I'm sorry. I was out of
Yeah.
line. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. But I would never do that back in the days. Never. I would just move
Yeah.
on. You know what I mean? Oh, but it happens. No, but it's not a good thing. And so with that, literally it pushed me so much further that now slowly people, philanthropists, entrepreneurs, successful business owners, networking groups, so many
Right.
doors all of a sudden had happened and opening that a year, 2 years ago was impossibly to believe for me that that could be a spot that I could be in, even though I wanted it internally,
Yeah. What you're
you know?
describing is what I say is like you being like that tiny rock in a pebble of consciousness, right? You get to make these small ripples, but they actually make big waves. And I just want to commend you on your integrity of, what
Thanks.
I did. I'm gonna say this. I wasn't kind in this context here. I wasn't nice here. I need to go clean up the mess. I think most people just walk around like, well, it's too bad, so sad. I gotta move on. And but you still
Yeah.
carry that. You still carry that baggage with
Yeah.
you. And I carried it for a long time. And like I said, it's not completely evaporated, right? There are the moments I have where I've got to like get the checkup from the neck up, like, okay, where am I at right now? Where am I coming from? Am I running the rewind button of my life and thinking about this person hurt me here, they violated me here, they broke my trust. All right, that's what
Right.
they did. And that stuff happened to me, but I can also convert it into a way of, well, what what do I want to learn from this? How is this helpful? How can I use this? And
Mhm.
it's not toxic positivity. Like, wow, everything's great, nothing's wrong. Like, yeah, stuff wrong, stuff sucks. People hurt. But I
Right.
also have the choice of my response of, all right, I can go around and bash this person on socials. I'm going around carrying the negative energy with me every time I see them. Or I can just let it go because they're living their life. Why I have a life to live too. I have a great life.
Mhm.
I've had a great
Mhm.
life. I just
And then,
had. A few
Yeah, and I
wires
just
crisscrossed. That's all.
right. And I also just want to add that sometimes, we this isn't really about, you see, when we really decide to go on a self-discovery, self-awareness journey, this is nothing about anybody else. This is just slowly about you. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And I feel like the more we practice grace and the more we practice like forgiving ourselves for doing what we're doing first, because I cannot go and ask somebody else for forgiveness if I didn't forgive myself first. Like I have to be clean with me first, and then with whoever or whatever I believe higher than myself. For me in my world, it's God.
yeah.
So if I don't go to him first and I don't talk to him about what I just did, why do I think I need to go to that person? Like, let me talk
Hmm.
to creator that created this problem, created certain things for me to learn out of. So once I learned that, now I can go and clean up my mess. But if I'm not even clear within myself, knowing what I just did, what I just, contributed, because we all contribute, it's
Yeah.
all, every action has a reaction and every reaction has an action. It's always going to be like that. And then it's really up to us how to go about the one or the other, but I think this is so important while we coaching people. And I know you in the same industry, you're helping people to get really rooted in certain things that they're kind of like searching for. But
Yeah.
also writing this book, I think this is really what life is about. We should not hold back anymore with the truth. We should not hold back with all the embarrassing moments that we did, that happened to us, that we did to others. Like we should speak up about those, because you know what? In the end, we all here as a collective, we all need each other. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
collectively, energetically, we all need each other. And nobody's
Absolutely.
better than anybody else. Nobody's life is better than anybody else. It's just really about how you see you being rich for yourself. If you consider being rich by having a ton of money in your bank account and you have all the toys like a boat and a yacht, and that's one way of looking at it. But if you see being rich as I'm healthy, the people close to me are healthy, I have a comfortable bed, I have a shower, I have food every day, that to me, you're rich. Like you have everything that one really can ask, because there's right now in this moment so many people suffering. People only dream about having a conversation in a safe place that you are in and I'm thankfully into. And we forget, sometimes we really forget and we get so ungrateful and so what's the English word? So little things, the little details that we have on daily basis, it that's all gold around us. Us
Yeah.
just having a cup of coffee or just really being able to be part of a book. That's amazing. And some people might say, oh, everybody writes a book, everybody has a podcast. I understand, but
Yeah.
at the
Not
end of the
everybody.
day, I mean,
Everybody's got
how people would say it.
everybody's got the capability, but not the access or opportunity.
Right. And the courage to actually
Uh,
write something, to actually, like you said, take your words, put it into an action, take your words and make it into a movie, any kind of
yeah.
way. Creating something is really what we're meant to be. And yes, I understand there's many creators out there, and that's wonderful. But that still takes courage. It still takes you sitting down. It still takes you being clear on who you are and what you want and why you do what you need to do. And that's self-discovery and that's self-awareness. And that's amazing if we can get there, it's a blessing for sure.
Yeah, it is, and it's especially for, you know, people of color in this country in America, there's sharing thoughts like this or speaking up like this. At one point, right, not that long ago, something like this could get me strung up, hung, like get me I could lose my life because I share intelligence. Like I think about this Chris Rock joke all the time where he's joking about like a slave driving and seeing like going to an intersection and recognizing like, oh no, I better stop. And or if I don't stop, I'm gonna get into an accident. Like my master's gonna be upset. And they get into the car accident. He's like, hey, didn't you see that stop sign? And the guy's like, well, you mean that octagon? He's like, who taught you octagon? right? So things,
Mhm.
it's just these little generational
Mhm.
systemic
Mhm.
barriers we
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
And I'm blessed at least to be in this time period where I have an opportunity to share this. I have an opportunity to share this with somebody across the world and have this broadcasted across the world. And, I don't take that
yeah,
lightly. And I think that for anyone, speaking up is your way to stand out because that helps you build that confidence, helps you build unshakable confidence, really. And when
right.
you think about amplifying your voice, I wrote about this in the book. Your story matters, your voice matters, and it's not
Exactly.
a clever tag. It's not like that. Like it's a real thing because when we
Yeah,
silence people, we silence women, we silence individuals who have special needs and different abilities. We don't get to learn. We actually
right.
rob ourselves by telling this other group to shut up and sit down and shut up and dribble. Don't don't speak up for
Yeah,
yourself, or how dare
yeah,
you go against what we think is the truth. Like there's only one truth, right? There's only one way, there's only one life. His name is Jesus. Like
exactly.
that's a whole nother
Exactly.
story.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and how grateful, because
Yeah.
our ancestors, right? How
Uh,
grateful to be for them to walk, to jump through the hoops, to endure what they had to endure, for us to have the possibility to have it easier than them, right? To have possibilities that they just dreamed of, that they fought for, you know?
yeah.
So that's big for me, being grateful for ancestors that came way before us in general, in any kind of culture. They opened these doors for us. They made it actually happen. And we should not forget that. And we should, be so grateful. At least I know for me in my prayer time, I always point that out to them. I'm so grateful that they're here protecting, people, and that every ancestor of any culture, of any country, of any continent, of anything, that they're so different in on this whole world is protecting and watching over us. And so grateful that they just endured all that nonsense, you know,
Yeah.
that they had to really endure, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know, this was such a great talk, Alex. I'm so happy. So such a wonderful conversation and so insightful. And if it's worth anything, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for taking your own light and not allowing it to be dimmed any longer.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
that's that that's a great accomplishment from human to human. That's not an easy path, because
Yeah.
because I know it's it's really challenging, and there is a lot of obstacles and a lot of setbacks and a lot of mind games from the other side. But I'm really happy for you that you actually found it for you. So that's great. Don't ever let it go low, keep shining.
No, thank you. No, I received that for sure. And
Yeah.
for anybody who's in that space of darkness, understand that dark and light, they have to exist together, right? I can't shine like this without having gone to a place
Mhm.
I call it like a cave, a void. Honestly, it's like a portal where I
Right.
you kind of collapse inside. But just know that you have everything available to you to shift, right? And it's gonna be it starts with one decision and then another action and another decision, another action, right? There's no fairy tale magic wish yourself into happiness. If you want
Right.
an abundant life, you want a prosperous life, you want a life that you're proud of and you're excited about, that's a choice. You choose that. And you might think, oh, Alex, my circumstance or this, I'm not knocking the circumstance. I'm not knocking what's ever happened to you or whoever's hurt you. But
Mm.
from here, what are you going to
Where do
choose?
you go?
Are you going to
Right.
choose
Where do you
to
want to go?
own yourself, to own your
Yeah.
value? Are you going to choose
Yeah.
to make a contribution that will fuel you? Or are you going to choose to be surrounded by people that serve you and nurture you? Or are you going to
Hmm.
choose the other side? That's all it is.
Hmm. Yeah. Great closing point. And I'm just going to leave it at that. There you have it, podcast lovers. Another great conversation. Like always, if there's anything on your heart, if you want to be a part of this amazing movement where we share our stories and we're hopefully helping another human out there, please be my guest. But until then, stay rooted, stay grounded, always stay connected to
Yeah.
love, the
Yeah.
strongest force in
Let me
universe.
wait, let me shift over for them. So if anybody wants a audio copy, audio version, I did an audio reading of my chapter. Just scan that code, type in win, and it's my gift to you.
There you have it.
There you
Bye.
have it.